The main character of Escape Dead Island's name is Cliff Kalo, and he has a tattoo that says love, strength, and respect. I could basically end the review there because that almost tells you everything you need to know about how bad Escape Dead Island is. But I won't, because I hate myself. And I love you. And it's my hope that by reviewing this abomination of a title, no one else will ever play it. Escape Dead Island is one of the worst action games I have ever played.
Swag!
You may already be noticing from the footage, but this doesn't really resemble the previous Dead Island games too much. And you would be correct, because in a lot of ways, Escape Dead Island has nothing to do with the previous title. Whereas Dead Island and Riptide were first-person hack-slash RPGs, Escape is a low-rent Tomb Raider ripoff with zombies crammed in it. And there's no crafting, there's no progression aside from linear upgrades, and there's really nothing else that at least made the previous games tolerable. That doesn't leave a lot left, does it?
Yeah! Woo! Woo!
What Escape Dead Island does have is an annoying character, terrible acting, a hideous story, boring linear levels, troubling melee combat, even worse stealth gameplay, and unforgivable shooting. Coming up with something I didn't detest about this game is nigh on impossible, and I truly loathed every second of recording this footage. The plot revolves around the aforementioned waste of space Cliff and his even more annoying friends as they commit some freelance journalism on some island near Banoi, but not Banoi, that also has zombies on it. Come to find out, this was the home of the research facility that may have caused the initial outbreak, which I'm fairly certain was also the plot point in both the previous games, but that doesn't matter because Cliff hates his dad and needs to prove that he's a real man, and oh no, he's an idiot, now all of his friends are dead. Also, he has hallucinations, but they might not be because upgrades that he acquires in his hallucinations stay with him in the real world. Oh, and John shows up from the other games. John. Remember her?
Why do you want me to do all this alone?
I assumed you got this.
Just watch me.
The previous Dead Island games had horrible plots, but the story only ever acted as a reason to move the players along. That's not uncommon in co-op games because the greater focus is hopefully on the dynamic player experiences with each other. Escape Dead Island, though, doesn't have that crutch, and as a result, it stumbles miserably. As the game wore on, I began to truly hate Cliff and his idiot friends, and I began to hope that the game would just end with them dying miserably on that island. I don't actually know how it ended because the gameplay was so bad I ended up quitting after a few hours. What you have is a nearly endless series of fetch quests that continuously loop you around the same locations over and over and over again, occasionally with something slightly different. There's always a key or a switch or a component that you need, and the game finds the most contrived reasons to make you go out and get it. The endless dialogue of the idiot cast does nothing to alleviate this, and the attempts at emotional investment fall hilariously short because you simply don't care. By the third or fourth time you're going through the same areas doing the same thing, you'll begin to feel like a zombie yourself because your brain has totally melted from boredom.
I got the next key card.
You don't give up, do you?
Not anymore.
Ideally, this is supposed to be a stealth game. Enemies hit hard and you can quickly become overwhelmed. Certain rooms actually spawn more enemies if you're detected. That all falls apart after a few hours, and near the end you're so overpowered that combat becomes trivial. The game attempts, and fails, to balance this with new enemy types, including some that can almost instantly kill you, but the AI was so bad that they became just really easy to trick. Strangely, none of the zombies that you encounter are the special zombies from the previous game, but why care about continuity now, right? When you are forced into combat, it's as brain dead as the zombies you're facing. Mash the attack button until the little bar above their heads is empty, and dodge occasionally to avoid damage. As for shooting, the guns feel horrible to use, and anything beyond the stealth pistol is a waste of time. The only other gun that I enjoyed was the bizarre shotgun assault rifle that kind of looked like an orc weapon from Warhammer. It almost had the proper amount of DACA.
Get some rest. You look dead tired.
Visually, it is impressive how awful Escape Dead Island looks. For some reason, they decided to go with a comic book style cell shading, but that doesn't really work at all, and the game just looks hideous. This released in 2014 on the Xbox One, and while 2014 wasn't exactly a banner year, titles like Far Cry 4, Dark Souls 2, or Alien Isolation just make this look embarrassing. The character models are amateur at best. Cliff has these weird arms that always kind of made me super uncomfortable, and his and most of the animations were stiff and sluggish. Lighting is bland and awful. There's only like 5 models for the zombies, and these special zombies are nonsense. My favorite thing about the visuals is for some reason the models scrunch up if the camera is too far away, and this actually happens in several of the cutscenes.
Doing what? That's almost lost it. It's no, you're not. You can't. You won't. It's not me.
I can do better. Come on now.
I nearly forgot about the levels. Good God, the levels in this game. Every section is incredibly linear, but for some reason the game makes you backtrack across the island several times. But none of that is worse than the sewers. I will submit Escape Dead Island as having the single worst sewer section in any game ever produced. It is literally nearly a third of the game, and they are so boring and so bland and so awful that no one should ever have to suffer through them like I did. They nearly broke me, and if I wasn't so committed to finishing this series, I definitely would have stopped there.
But at any second, things could go horribly wrong.
While the voice acting was terrible and the sound effects are generic, possibly the only thing I can actually praise this game for is its soundtrack. It's not groundbreaking and it's used pretty inappropriately throughout the story, but at least it is competent. I would actually say it's probably the best OST in the series, which admittedly is a low bar. Some of the songs are particularly good and the mixing in them is never overbearing. It is a tiny, minuscule saving grace, and it's almost too bad it's wasted on this game.
And now... No! Not the chicken hat!
Escape Dead Island is an annoying, frustrating, and unenjoyable game to play. It's a miserable final whimper of a franchise best left forgotten. Before we go, I did want to quickly mention the other 2 games. First is Dead Island Retro Rampage. It's a 2D beat-em-up that was supposed to be a prequel to Dead Island 2. You play as a man in an infected California that has to save his dog. It plays poorly, isn't very long, and looks worse than every other pixel-style beat-em-up available right now. The other game is Dead Island Epidemic, an online MOBA that you can't play anymore. I recall playing it when it was available. It was bad.
This is our town, scrub!
And that is it for the Dead Island franchise. Bland, forgettable, and occasionally downright horrible games best left in the waste bin of history. At times, it's almost a shame because while the execution wasn't right, there was always that tiny spark of a good idea at times. Maybe, just maybe one more game could have been enough to save that tiny spark, that tiny dying light.
The ninja, the skipper, and the douche. Sailing the high seas for revenge and respect.
Shut up.